Yes, thank you very much. So this is my first time reading this book, and I was very impressed by the voice of the translation. And I'm very interested. You've talked about, researching the historic linguistic environment. But I'm wondering about the creative process to really capture his voice and to write fluently in it. And could you describe that?
I mean, that's the most terrifying part. That's where, I felt that academically, thank you for the question. Academically, I felt on that I was on sure footing going into this. I sort of knew everything that I've laid out to you. This is the approach that hasn't been taken. This is why it's important, this context and this and that. But when it came down to being able to arrive at the voice of the translation, I was really at sea, because I can read Voltaire and I can read Charles Lamb and I can read Tristram Shandy and I can read Mark Twain and whoever else until I go blue in the face, and they still won't give me Machado. There's no one I can copy. There's no one I can turn to. And so uh, that was that 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 I don't have a good answer for how I how I arrived at that voice, because that was just the hardest thing. You have this word and you can translate it seven different ways, and which way would my Brás Cubas say it? That's sort of, I felt like I was trying to tune into that radio station constantly. And as I say, after about a quarter of the way through the first draft, I felt like, oh, I finally got him. And before that, it felt like this horrible exercise in uncertainty where I could, say, yes, technically this word means this, and that's fine, and I can defend it. I could even defend it to my dissertation committee, but I just don't know. I don't know if that's Brás Cubas saying it. And at a certain point, I think just the exercise of sitting down with the book every day, and getting these passages through my head and sort of working, kneading and kneading and kneading the dough. At some point, I felt that I brought it into focus. But I hate to to sound mystical or vague, but I think it was just that's how I arrived at it.
Did you work with the cadences of the sentences and the cadences from Portuguese to English?
I did. I can't remember reading it out loud to myself too often. It was I think, when I remember my dad reading an early draft and just going and being sort of put off by it. And then I made him read the first page of Tristram Shandy and he was like, okay, this is worse. Because it isn't, he's not easily digestible. It's not, made to go down smoothly. So I think a lot of what I did was just not messing with the cadences. There were many things that just, as if I transpose, especially when I'm talking about the punctuation and the sentence structure, many things I could transpose fairly easily into English, but it was just that sense of sort of a fingerprint of a personality, of a unique approach to the text, a unique voice, where there wasn't really anything that I could find, a micro level justification at the level of the text for one word or another. It just had to be, and that has to do with why we need more translations ever of every work, because, the only thing I can give you is my Brás Cubas, and I know there are others. Um, but I hope you enjoyed this one.